Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight was a little bit. Today is actually a rainy day, and so yeah, it's a rainy day, and so Starlight is making this video in here today because it's raining again. It's been raining pretty much all night and all day. And so that is why Starlight is going to make this video in here in her car. And anyway, thank you for all of you who have been here loving and supporting Starlight. And if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And also, before I start this video, hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget the notification bell, and you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you can share my videos with your family or friends. Plus, don't forget my playlist, and you can also find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. And also, if anyone would love to send any love donations, you can through my Cash App, and I will have the information here. Ping, there it is. And now today, it's the title is going to be this video is not here to scare you, it's to warn you. And so I know that's a crazy topic, you know, a title there, but you know, I was trying to figure out what title. I might have to change it, you know, depending on how it goes, but I really want to make this video because it's such an important message, because it just doesn't affect me. It doesn't just affect my daughter, it affects everyone. Yeah, you, everyone. This video is for everyone, no matter who you are, is because I'm not here to put fear out, but it's good to know these things and to be aware so you can be wise and understand what's going on out there. Not everywhere, but it's going on out there more than you think. This society that we are living in is, we've been lied to, mind controlled, programmed, you name it, you know. And so my YouTube channel is not just about be the change that you want to see in the world, it's also about bringing awareness to things that are going on, the things that are hidden that people can't see. And so I'm making this video because God has done this many times to me, and maybe this has happened to many of you, and you didn't know it, you didn't look at it this way, but this is how I'm looking at it, is that even in the Bible times, in the Old Testament, God actually used people as spies to spy out the land, you know. And so this has been going on in my reality, in my life, you know. God sends me into places, puts me in places, and it's no accident that I got in the cult church, you know. It's no accident that I got locked up into a psych hospital. All those things were meant to happen. And some of you are probably, you know, wondering what the heck, you know. But there's my background as far as hospitals go and churches go is, yes, you got to be careful what you get your ass into out there as far as church goes. That was a lesson for me, you know, and that's why I don't go to church anymore. It doesn't mean that I don't have a relationship with the Creator, God. So there's a lot of people that have been programmed thinking that you've got to be in church to serve God, but many people are waking up. So I'm not crazy. I am just waking up to really what's going on in this reality, in this 3D matrix stimulation here. And I know that's much for most of you, because you know, you wake up when it's your time to wake up, if you know, because everything happens, you know, there's no accidents or coincidences, and you know, it takes time. You know, we got to go through lessons in order for this knowledge and wisdom to come through. And so you might be one of these people that I'm talking to that, you know, God might have sent you somewhere, and you might have had you thought or believed, or you might still think it was a horrible experience, you know, and you probably wonder, why did that happen to me? And so you might have not have looked at it this way, is maybe God just sent you in there to learn stuff, to tell other people and warn people what happened in there, so then you can help other people out. So I believe it was the year of 2016 is when I had a doctor's appointment. There was nothing wrong with me. I had a doctor's appointment, I went to I'm saying, when I say there's nothing wrong with me, there was no record of me being a certain way, even though I knew I came from a very abusive family and gone through so much abuse through my life, with my family members, or even relationships or whatever, even going into an occult church. I'm an ex-cult church member. I am free from all that stuff. So those things do cause a lot of issues and problems later on in people's lives. But I was just going to my doctor's appointment, and that was in 2016. And, I don't even remember what I was going in there for, because I'll tell you what, God wanted me to go through something. God put me into something that I needed to see, because I didn't know. Now, as I was driving, I had to drive a maybe 45-minute drive to get to this appointment. And anyway, is that I know I was on the phone with my brother on the way there, hands-free. I had Bluetooth on the car that I was driving. I had a brand new Kia at the time, and I was driving where you just talk, into the mic or whatever. And I know my brother upset me, but that's not really what was going on. So I did get upset on the way to my doctor's appointment, but by the time I got to my doctor's appointment, I was breathing heavy, and I really was hot. I was extremely hot, which I told my doctor at the time that I wanted to take my clothes off. That's how hot I was. And this particular doctor, this is in New York, in Amsterdam, New York, this place that I'm talking about. It's across from the St. Mary's Hospital. And so I knew my doctor for the longest time was studying me. He was interested in me, and I've gone through this my whole life. I have been studied in school, at job places, hospitals, all through my life. I've been studied by different groups of people throughout my existence. So this is not the first time that I've had people curious about who Starlee is. But my doctor was really super curious. He had all the blood tests, all these things. But anyway, when I went in there, he told me that because I was breathing heavy, wanted to take my clothes off, I was like, it was not just because my brother was upsetting me. It had something more deeper than that. But my doctor wanted to send me across the hospital, which was St. Mary's Hospital. And so I was out of it. I knew I needed help, but I didn't know. I was not really there, I was just so hot and I was breathing heavy. So I thought my doctor was going to just send me across the street to get some labs done, some blood work done. He wasn't specific on what he was telling me. He actually told me that the hospital would take really good care of me. Now, backtrack, my daughter got sent into this hospital. Well, actually, she walked in this hospital like 2 weeks ago, before this actually happened, or near that time. Not more than a month ahead of time. My daughter was in that hospital and just got out of that hospital. When she got into that hospital, she went in there willingly because she had pain in her head and she didn't know what else to do. So somehow or another, she ended up going into the psych hospital at the St. Mary's Hospital in Amsterdam. So when she got in there, she realized, holy shit, what's going on? These people are trying to lock me in here. They were trying to keep her in there. You get in these hospitals, a lot of them, they don't want you to get back out. So you got to really be careful. You might have people out there, you might have family members or somebody that that you don't know what happened to them, but they've never been the same. And that's what happened. I'm assuming that's what happened to my daughter, is she was one way going in, and been in many hospitals like myself, but my daughter is not the same. And I am being a voice not just to about myself, but to my daughter and many other patients out there that get tricked or deceived one way or another to go into psych hospitals. So, like I said, my doctor was sending me over there, and so anyway, he asked me if I wanted to, actually before this happened, is for some unknown reason my eyes wouldn't open up. They were glued shut. I couldn't see. And I believe God was doing this purposely to me, or forces out there, because I definitely believe 100% that there's aliens out there. And I have stories that I'm going to be bringing them out more, and I'm going to break them down a little bit more than what I did before, is because I already had the videos out on my YouTube channel, Spiritual Awakenings, also alien stuff, but my Spiritual Awakening stories are on there because these are things that really happened to me. And so now, is that you got to be careful out there, is because not everybody else out there is out for your greatest good. There's people out there, they just want to use the government money. I had insurance from the government during these times here, because I had my own cleaning business, and I had government help just for health insurance to make it through. And so as I was at my doctor's appointment across the street from the St. Mary's Hospital in Amsterdam, New York, I couldn't open my eyes, and the doctor asked me if I wanted the ambulance to come and pick me up. Well, I figured, why do I need that? Because, I'm just across the street, but I couldn't see. So he ended up having two nurses, arm in arm, to walk me across the street, which is scary as heck, seeing everything, and to one point being totally blind. So they helped me go across the street to go to the hospital. I couldn't see anything, didn't know where they were taking me, but I believe there is a reason for this. I believe there's aliens out there, dark force and a light force, out there, and they can be into hospitals. They are in some of these hospitals. They look like humans. But anyway, that didn't really happen. Anyway, like I was saying, is that whether you believe this or not, whether you get this or not, there are aliens that work inside of hospitals. And so I don't want to scare you. They don't look like aliens, like the way Hollywood has it, is they look like people. So I'm going to be starting to make more of these videos to really get my voice out here, because people need to wake up and really smell the coffee, out there, because I'm telling you, there's things that are going on in this reality most people are not even awake to, So I'm going to continue on what happened as far as Starlight going to a hospital. Is the two nurses at the hospital was going to help me walk across the street. Starlight's eyes would not open up, so the whole time I was thinking that I was going to go to get some blood work done. That seemed like a right thing to do, but my doctor did not tell me. He said that the hospital would take really good care of me, but what he didn't tell me, what hospital I was going to, is that he didn't send me to St. Mary's Hospital to get blood work. No, he put my ass right into the psych hospital. He left that part out. So as the nurses walked me in there, I thought, they were getting me signed in to the hospital, and all that time I was thinking, oh, this is just a normal procedure, getting my, my health insurance card or whatever, to get help. And but that's not what it was all about. They had all these different kind of questions, which I couldn't see. I was blind doing this. And at the same time, there was a man named Peter, that he was coming into the hospital at the same hospital as I was. I couldn't see him, but he saw me. So then, by the time they got me all registered for the hospital, by the time my eyes opened up, when I opened up my eyes, I realized I wasn't in just to a regular hospital like an ER. No, You know, that's where I thought I was going. I totally freaked out when I realized they sent me to the same place that my daughter was in. My daughter warned me and told me that they were trying to keep her in there, even though she has voluntarily walked in there. So I'm telling you, you got to really be careful out there. If you got family or friends or even yourself, I tell you what, you got to be careful with the doctors. And even though this happened in a hospital, I got other stories that really, really seriously happened to me from 2016 to 2022 or 23 actually, is that this reality is not what you think, and it's they're trying to stop people from getting this truth out. They don't want you to know because it's a big money making process, a program or whatever, that a lot of people are making money on this stuff that's going on out there. And that is why you really need to, some of you might have family members that have been in a psych hospital, or, you got to be careful about calling 911, on anyone or even in yourself, because, you could end up into a situation and not even expect it. And so you really need to know the things that go on into a psych hospital, because I've been in many of them, in and out. My daughter has too. My daughter is not the same today because of all this stuff. She just told me stories that happened, but there's no witnesses, there's no evidence of this. This is her telling me, what happened, even in an ambulance, crazy ass shit that happened to my daughter. And nobody knows what's going on with my daughter, but it all started because she ended up going into a psych hospital, and it was happened before. And so in a psych hospital, like what I went through, is that they will try to scare you to making you think that you got to take the medication in order to get out of those hospitals. And so that is what you got to watch out for, is you got to know your rights. And not everybody in those places, it could be their first time going in there. And that is why you really need to get in contact with your family, and the information they get from you before you even go in, they're going to ask you questions, and this is how they set your ass up. And that's what they did with me. I wasn't close to my family. My kids I was during these times when I got into this hospital, but I didn't have like a great relationship with my mom and dad. And so people like myself and many other people, they look for people like me and other people where they don't really have a good, family structure as far as people being there to really, like when your mom and dad don't show up to go visit at a hospital, that they're looking for patients like you or people like you, because there's nobody checking up on you, which my kids were. So I'm grateful for my kids, but my mom and dad didn't, know anything that was going on, so, and that is what they do, to find out like who you are, and also your history of, anything about you. So you really, there's people out there that are marked, but it's a big money making process what they do, because like I had health insurance with the government, like I said. There's other people that get, there's people that go in, these people, they don't have an education, they don't understand things. There's a lot of people that have disabilities. These are people that are good targets for, the doctors and the hospitals to take advantage of, and they could tell their relatives, their family members, anything that they want to tell them, and to make them believe, anything. And there's nothing private in the hospital. When a person gets locked in a psych hospital, there's absolutely no privacy at all. When I got into the psych hospital here at the St. Mary's Hospital in Amsterdam, New York, is that they gave me a notebook and it's all set up. They give you notebooks because or things to write with, because not all hospitals do this, but they want to know what you're writing in your notebook. So when you're not in your bedroom, you might be taking a shower. Guess what? They're in your, and this is what they did to Starlight. they're in the bedroom. They have every right to go in the bedroom and check and see what I'm writing, because the reason why they say this is because they want to make sure you're not going to kill yourself. Well, I wasn't in there because I was going to kill myself. I wasn't, I just was having I felt like, big hot flashes or something. I don't know what was going on, but I believe that the universe, God, wanted me to go in here in this hospital so I can learn what is going on in this hospital. Is just like a spy, like the universe is going to use me as, just like, whoops, sorry about this, because Starlight is in a funny situation here with my device. Just like in the Bible time, like to send people somewhere, so then they will learn what's going on, like a spy. And that is what I feel like God, the universe, or whatever, or even aliens could have made all this happen, so I get sent in there, because then they're going to use me later on, help me to get back out, so then I can actually tell people what the blank is going on in a lot of these psych hospitals. Some of them are worse than others. Some of them, they don't give you anything to do in a day. They just want you to sit there and do nothing all day long. Other hospitals, they got groups. You could go in there. You want to color? Wow, they got all the coloring crayons. You could color and do this and that. They have another group, because I'll tell you what, where I am right now is close to Albany, New York, right where I'm actually right back in the same neighborhood I was before all this happened, before I got living in my car. So it's amazing how I did a 360. There's a reason why I'm here right now, is because this is where it all started before I ended up living in my car. And so I am here because I'm a voice to help other people out. And there's hospitals all around. I've been in many of them. My daughter's been in even more than I have been in. But because I'm close to Albany, New York right now, is that there's Albany psych hospitals. They have one in there that is actually, like I said, they got groups. If you wanted to learn how to meditate, they could have a group room so you can learn how to meditate. Then if you wanted to go and, do stuff on a computer, well, they got a computer room, where you can go in instead of sitting around doing nothing all day long. Sitting around would drive me freaking bonkers, And so they find out information about you, but there's some psych hospitals, all you got is TV. You might have like the St. Mary's Hospital place. They had a TV. Do you think I want to watch news 24/7? They would have it on a station, and that's it. Nothing to do all day long. No crayons, no pencils, nothing to do, and just that you're locked up in that space for like you could be in there. I think it's like 15 days that they can hold you in there by the law if the doctor says that you can't get out. And when I was in the St. Mary's Hospital, they got information on me before I went in, and they wanted to know what my triggers were. What are my triggers? And this is the same questions that they would ask all the patients when they went in there before they locked the door. And so I'm telling you, you've got to be careful. This is a true story. It wasn't like I was trying to kill myself. No, I don't know what happened to me. I don't even know if a doctor would even understand, but I believe alien forces or the universe or God himself caused me to go through these side effects, like whatever I was going through, really hot, and also breathing heavy. And that's not the first time. I ended up going through the same kind of thing when I thought I was actually leaving my body, and I ended up getting in a car accident years later. So I've had a lot of strange things like this happening. But I believe the reason why I got sent to this hospital is so I can learn what's going on into the hospital. Just like the same thing when I got to a cult church, it was to send me in there so I can actually help free people that were in there, because there was 50 families that was in there. So you got to be careful if you got family member that has what the doctors are going to label as a mental illness. You really got to ask your you got to stay in contact with those people. You know, you might call 911 and think you're helping these people out by getting them into a psych hospital. The psych hospital might not be the greatest place to send them, even though you don't know what to do. You really, you know, it's a scary place out here as far as the doctors and all that stuff goes. And when I was in the hospital, is that they want to make you feel like you've got to take the medication. They didn't even know what was wrong with me. Why am I going to take a medication when there's no doctor telling me what caused me to breathe heavy and become hot? But in the hospital, they wanted to give me a medication underneath my tongue that melted, and I don't know what that is. It's on record. I lost all the paperwork. I had paperwork on all this stuff, but I can always regain this stuff back because I want to fight for this. You know, my therapist that knew all this stuff, she didn't do shit about what was going on. And this is what happens with people that get sent to these places. They will listen to the doctor over the patient. And that's exactly, they don't want to speak up because my therapist didn't want to speak up because that's her job at stake. You know, and it, you know, because talking about the doctors, it should have been looked into. If they looked at the you know, the cameras and what was going on in there when I was in that hospital, is that shit was happening. They were purposely triggering the patients in this hospital at the St. Mary's Hospital, so they had a reason to inject you with some kind of medication. So it's a very serious thing that's going on in the world out there in this United States, you know, in different hospitals, psych hospitals. I know this was happening in that St. Mary's Hospital. That's the one of the worst, but that was the only worst one that I was in. Is that they have, like I said earlier, they have psych hospitals where they were really trying to help you out and get you involved and do stuff, you know, and but you got to be careful. Not all those doctors really they were, you know, studying you, and you got to be careful out there with your loved ones, yourself, you know, and I've been telling a lot of people about this. You got to be careful. They want to shut people out like Starlight and other people that are putting the truth out, because it's a big money. Everybody, the doctor makes money, the pharmacy makes money, the hospitals make money, you know, therapists make money. Now they, you know, because now, you know, here I had enough trauma that I already went through as you know, as a child, as an adult, and that hospital, even at church, you know, traumas that happen in relationship traumas, and going to that hospital added another trauma to my own mental health, and it triggered, this all triggered me to go in, I believe what they call is a spiritual awakening, which in a strange way I needed to go through, because this is when you wake up to really find out this world is not really what you think. So there's so much more I wanted to say on this topic, but anyway, I just want you to let you know, don't be afraid, but be cautious of calling 911, and because anybody could send you in a psych hospital, and like it happened to me, he didn't tell me, the doctor didn't tell me that he was going to do that. He just said, hey, they're going to take really good care of you. No, they didn't. So my story is still on my YouTube channel, Spiritual Awakenings. This story here that I'm putting out, I'm actually really being a voice because my daughter has never been the same. My daughter can't get a job or a relationship right now because ever since she went into the psych hospital, her life has fallen apart, and she can get her life back. It just, you know, she's in a hard place right now because of all this stuff that's going on in these hospitals out here with the doctors, the judges, all these people, you know, so they're all a part of this whole thing to really medicate the people up, you know, and that is, you know, medication is not always the way, and trying to force people and keep people locked into hospitals is totally wrong, you know. So anyway, I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.